Great. So, all right, we're doing round robin updates, and Jason Mills, go ahead.
All right. Great to be back in person, everybody. Kind of a, what do they call it? A soft opening. But yeah, it's great to see everybody. And, I'm going through some changes. When I joined the Forest Working Group maybe 6 years ago, I was working for the Sonoma Ecology Center in the nonprofit sector. And got to learn a ton through that experience, do some great post-fire work and help out with the county with fire remediation. And then we got hit with a series of fires and a shortage of work to do. And then I jumped to the for-profit sector where I developed a team to continue that work at Sonoma with WRA. And now I'm going to branch out on my own, right? And so I'll be an independent contractor and get to, be a local business and do the work with a very high degree of quality. And I'm kind of excited for the future ahead. And my company will be called Ecological Solutions. So I'm seeking out all the advice I can get, and I'll be registering the business. And I'm a licensed contractor, so I've got that piece of the equation figured out. And I'm hoping to launch our services in April. So just excited about the future to help the environment and the community of Sonoma County.
Nice. So before you worked outside of Sonoma as well. Are you going to be more Sonoma centric this time?
More Sonoma centric, yes, because I'm Sonoma based. So, but I'll still be helping out everywhere I can through the North Bay and beyond. But yeah, lots of work to do here in Sonoma.
So what services are you providing?
Well, I'm the interesting thing about me is that I'm a licensed landscape and tree contractor, but I also have a master's degree in fire ecology. So I bring like a level of skill and informed ecological work to the ground. And that's what I'm most passionate about, right? Is seeing the work done with an ecological focus, which actually contributes to meeting the long-term goals. Not so apparent in the short term, but in the long term, that spin on things really does pay off. And that's what I've learned through the years of doing it. So that's really my kind of the drive. Yeah. Thank God.
That's great. Thanks. I guess I'll go next. Yeah. So Adriana Stagnero, project manager with Goldridge RCD. I feel like there's so many things going on right now. We will talk about in the next item some of the workshops that Kim and I are scheduling, some of the public workshops that we're scheduling on landowner education, forest management, vegetation management. But outside of the public meetings, we're also scheduling some not exactly private, but more like targeted landowner meetings that aren't generally open to the public. I'm working with the Bohemian Collaborative in Occidental to help a group of some 20 landowners, pretty large acreage landowners that include the camps down there along Bohemian Highway and some of the private ranches and state parks and regional parks properties to develop a management plan for their area. So some of those landowners already have their own forest management plans, but they're also interested in creating like a larger, what we're calling a stewardship plan for the area. Very similar, and it'll use the template that Jason developed for the Diamond Mountain Markwest project in the Markwest area. So it's a plan that will help basically establishes some of these like shared values, common goals among all landowners, identifies projects that they're interested in doing. This all sounds super familiar to Judy, who has been developing this same kind of work over decades. They want to get started and put it all on paper. They're going to be working with Forester. They're going to create a fairly simple plan that will prepare them for to do their environmental review. They'll use the CalVTP to do a project specific analysis for their area. And at this point, the RCD is hoping to lead that effort. We plan on contracting with some specialists to do the PSA, project specific analysis. And that is to help them get ready to apply for a forest health grant. So they'll be, you know, they have the stewardship plan and then their CEQA analysis done and then all ready for an application to CAL FIRE so that they can do their projects. And they already know that they want to do some shaded field breaks, forest improvements, defensible space work around their homes, and also take into consideration the Dutchville Creek that runs in that valley. So this will be, you know, at least a year, probably 2-year long process of getting everyone together and, you know, preparing all that. So I'm excited to work with them. We have not started yet. This is just kind of like we're laying the groundwork right now for that whole process. And really excited to do this because I feel like, you know, in the working group, we've talked a lot about how it's this is kind of like the scale that we want to be working at more often. And it really takes landowners who are interested in that process. They have to be the ones to initiate it. And they've been so proactive in this area, having meetings, getting together, talking about, you know, what they want to see and pulling in resources like the RCD and the county and CAL FIRE to make it happen. So hopefully we have success and we just continue to have these things happen and replicate throughout the county. I'm also assisting Kim with some of his own vegetation management projects, which I'll let you talk about. Let's see, the RCD, what else do we have going on? We also, I think, you know, told you guys in the past about a defensible space grant that we're working with Fire Safe Sonoma on in West County, which basically just gives extra help to rural landowners who want to create defensible space in Occidental, Monterey, Forestville, and Camp Meeker, some places where it's really needed. The resources that they can access are chipping. So they've got the support of their fire department in chipping their debris as they pull it out from around their home or their property, their roadside areas. And they also have access to rebates, so they can apply for funding assistance so that they can hire a contractor, defensible space contractor, landscaper, whoever, to do work around their home, and they'll get some of that money compensated by the grant. So we're hoping that will incentivize them to do more of that defensible space work.
That sounds like exactly what's needed to happen. What are the rebates? Do you know the scale of?
Yeah, it's up to $1,000.
$1,000.
So it's 2/3 of the project cost up to $1,000. So if you have a project that costs $1,500, we'll pay for $1,000. And yeah, we know that doesn't go super far with like arborist work, you know, like tree removal, but brush removal and that kind of thing, it'll have more of an impact for an individual landowner. So
I've heard there are new protocols with insurance companies that are starting to enforce the 0 to 5.
Yeah.
So just that $1,000 could help get that started. That might be the most critical initial piece of the puzzle, you know.
Right.
But I think the defensible space work's gonna really pick up.
Yeah, I think so too. And people can, you know, the contractor can purchase materials like that, you know, like to make that like really hardened zone right around your home. That's expensive, and like you may not want to do that on your own. You might want to hire someone to do it for you. So yeah, we're hoping it'll make a dent and people will take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's great for the awareness too, because I see the post-fire rebuilds putting foundation plants in the 0 to 5 with a new construction, and it's like, man, I can't wait to just get past that model, you know. So yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, it's a little drop in the bucket. I mean, it's certainly like what we need is for people to change their minds about it. You know, like we can throw money at things and try different things, but people have to change their minds about what their home zone looks like. And so that's the hardest part, really. But I think it's spreading, you know. Fire Safe Sonoma's been doing a ton of good education, and Fireways communities are springing up all over the place, and they're really savvy about this. So our hope is just to give them a little money to make it happen. Yeah, so I think those are my main updates, and Rose has been helping every step of the way with all of it.
Oh, Adriana, can I ask about the Bohemian Grove? So you have a couple of communities there you're working with. does that reflect all of the communities within that watershed, or are there more that need to join in, or is this a total comprehensive?
It's kind of, well, I mean, so we're mostly working, so this is the Bohemian Highway, and it's mostly the Bohemian Highway north of Occidental.
Okay.
The south side, we have some interested landowners, sorry, they have some interested landowners, but it's not as cohesive as the north. I feel like we've got pretty good connection and continuity on the north side.
Cool.
But yeah, I think that's like a reasonable scale to start at for now, and then people can once they get rolling and proof of concept, then I think more people will join.
Building towards like the watershed treatment model seems to be kind of where we need to go, right?
Right, watershed, fireshed, yeah, and definitely like. I would love to have those folks come in and present at some point to talk about, what their concept is, how they're moving things along, and learn from this group too. Judy, I know a couple of years ago you gave some advice to that group or to some of the landowners in that group, and that was super valuable. And like I've been encouraging them to get in touch with you and others who have history, and like have done it. And
isn't the group that Fred's involved with?
Yeah.
We've talked about it too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I think there's going to be some collaboration there.
Awesome. Yeah, Amy Badharris is the kind of the lead volunteer, and Safer West County is involved. So she's a member of Safer West County, and then the landowners. Yeah, Fred is he's a landowner in the area, but I think mostly he's volunteering as forester, a local forester. And then there's, St. Dorothy's, Westminster Woods, Alliance, all those camps. The Monterey Redwoods Park, Brooke is starting to get involved in that effort. We've got, Mendocino Redwoods Company. Also Larson Ecology Center. And some of the private ranches. So it's like.
Those are such important areas.
Right.
They're really, I'm happy to hear what you're doing there and what's happening, because those communities, they reached out to us a few years ago, and we didn't have much to offer outside of what we were doing, and the concern was really expressed by a number of people. It's like, we've got to do something here. I mean, even when I worked at Fish and Wildlife, I had a colleague who lived there, and she was concerned, that nothing was being done. But this was a while ago, because I retired, I don't know how many years ago, right when you did, right before you did, Jean. So I'm happy to hear all that work, and I'd like to talk to you later more about.
That sounds great. Yeah, there's so much interest there, and they've been really amazing in organizing themselves. And yeah, our CD just wants to help. So
the Monterey Park project was completed too. It was a pretty progressive fuel reduction project. The regional parks designed there with gully stuffing, and biological diversity is a consideration in the work. And that was completed, I think, at the end of the year in 2023. So now that's a great time to bookend off of that.
Yeah.
Well, having rock helps a lot too.
Right, totally.
Rock is very.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, I've taken up way too much time on sequence.
Okay, so as Adriana said, I'm working a lot on the same projects with her. For the Safer West County rebate project, I'm putting together a list of interested contractors. They will be on it. I brought some postcards, and another part of that is that people who apply need an assessment. So we're also reaching out to local folks who provide assessments to get the word out while they're doing an assessment in our project area, to let people know about the rebates. And another aspect is that ideally we have volunteer assessors in each community. So right now we have them in Occidental, but in Camp Meeker, Forestville, and Monterey, if you happen to think of anyone who's super involved in the community and might be interested in going out and doing those defensible space assessments as a volunteer, we're putting together that part of the project as well. And then I'm working a lot on outreach. So we just talked to Temra the other day, and I wanted to give a shout out to the February 11th Resilient Forest series that's coming up. You know, anyone who's interested in that, the info's up and the event right is up, so you can register. And
Can you tell us more about that event?
oh, let's see. From my understanding, it'll be similar to the ones that happened in the fall. And they have a really nice shaded field break there that is shown as an example.
I
And
think Green Valley Farm and Mill.
yeah, at Green Valley Farm Mill. And that's kind of, I mean, the overview was to get people aware of the work you could do in that space. And I think the February 11th one is targeted towards a broader audience, right? Would you say? Okay. So basically anyone who's curious about.
Yeah. Yay, yeah, we'll send out more information.
Okay.
To the group.
Super interesting on the assessors,
Mm.
right? That's new. I haven't heard of a volunteer assessment program.
Yeah.
That seems like a good, I know Ivan O'Neill with Madronas is contracted through
Yes.
Permit Sonoma to do a wide range of assessments through Santa Rosa and East Bay. But that's a kind of a savvy approach, some volunteer assessors. How are you, can I ask, how are you resourcing that? Where do you find the assessors?
Right now, it's mostly Safer West County is their project. That's the
Okay.
part that they're more involved in, is
Good.
building that community aspect.
Cool.
And they have a few core members who are doing the assessments in Occidental.
Okay.
And then there's also training available from places like Fire Safe Sonoma. So if someone wanted to get trained up, then Roberta is involved in providing training there.
Cool.
In Ukiah, with our Western Hills Fire Safe Council, we just received a brochure from CAL FIRE because they do not have enough assessors to go around. So they're offering, I think it's a 16-hour training to have home hardening assessors. And through different fire safe councils, we have like, I think 35 or 37 fire safe councils in Ukiah now.
Wow.
Yeah, the dates are not set yet, but at our next meeting, we'll be bringing that up and getting some people brought in. And one question is though, is it okay in the city of Ukiah land or just more rural? Because we're a WUI fire safe council.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting.
yeah, I'll call CAL FIRE and find her.
Thank you.
All right, sounds good. All right, great. Again, my name is Keith Batchelder. I'm Vegetation Management Coordinator for Ag and Open Space. And we've had some really exciting things going on. The most important of which is the next round of the Vegetation Management Grant Program, which will be launched on February 5th. As a request for proposal, kind of following our traditional path that we led over the last 3 years. That deadline will be March 28th at 3 p.m. And that's a Thursday. And so we look forward to seeing lots of proposals for that. We have $1 million available for funding projects that are of high priority. And we'll be able to host a couple of workshops during the grant period to be able to share some of those priorities, what are the criteria, and really get a sense to have a good interaction with folks. And I think I reported out on this before, but just to remind everybody that this is a two-phase grant season this year with the Vegetation Management Grant Program. The first is this traditional RFP process where we'll receive a number of different proposals. We'll have a tight review committee, including my friend Robert Aguero, my best friend. We also will have Ben Nichols from CAL FIRE. We typically have folks from Sonoma Water, Ag and Open Space, who have fire expertise and can add to that. Carleon has also served on the evaluation committee. So that process has gone very well over the last 3 years. But this year we wanted to throw a little twist, and we have another $1 million available that will be generated through, or projects can be generated through a series of these workshops that we're hosting with Gold Ridge RCD and Sonoma RCD, where we are going to be taking these workshops to the local level. If you think about the amazing conference we had back in June, this is like the next iteration, but very much taking it on the road so that we are in local communities, be able to share some of these valuable tools and experiences and have face-to-face time with people who are in need of support. It could be technical, financial, what have you. But the idea is in each workshop, we want to be working with people who want to work with us, with Ag and Open Space, with CAL FIRE, with Permit Sonoma, so that we know that people are genuinely interested. And we're not pulling teeth to try to fund a project, but in fact, we're kind of working from the ground up so that we have complete transparency, we have good communication between all the entities involved, and we're able to select projects based on that as well. So that's really exciting news. We'll have more information as we progress through the year. But my request is that when we do host a workshop, if you have landowners in your particular area that are interested in this type of support, get their seat, their butts and chairs, if you will, so that we can have people participate who are really interested in following up on this stuff. So it is complicated. It takes a village. We all know how difficult this is working in Sonoma County as far as multiple parcels, multiple landowners, lots of different objectives for each landowner. So we want to be able to consolidate these efforts and really be able to spend these resources on projects that really show the greatest potential. With that, we did support, or I put together a proposal for the CAL FIRE Wildfire Prevention Grant. And while Ag and Open Space is typically very much shied away from funding sources that other local organizations will typically rely on, this was an opportunity to be able to consolidate a number of different projects that we've been working on for at least 3 years. And so I want to bring up one slide, and I'll try to do that quickly, sharing my screen and going here. And can everybody see that okay? All right, so this is an area that we're calling the North Side Shaded Fuel Break Project. And as you'll see, it's working on 3 specific community areas along the Russian River outside of Guerneville. And so on the far west side of the map, you will see a purple shaded fuel break that was designed with the Gernwood Neighborhood Association and the Snow RCD, as well as Environmental Resource Solutions, to be able to design a shaded fuel break that stretches around essentially the ridge line above Gernwood Park. Secondly, we have Rio Nido in red, which has a shaded fuel break that essentially encompasses the bowl that you can see as part of Rio Nido in the bottomlands, and be able to stretch these shaded fuel breaks that go along these different ridge lines that will be another buffer to that community that's very vulnerable to wildfire. And then finally, the Hacienda shaded fuel break will largely stretch along Mount Jackson Resort Road, all the way up towards Sweetwater Springs property up at the top, and be able to stretch down to the Russian River corridor. So those are 3 projects that the first 2 of which have a BTP that Robert and I have reviewed and approved, or we'll be taking it to the board soon. Once that's approved, then we can implement that project right away. The idea with Hacienda is they are en route to doing their shaded fuel break BTP. And so we want to support that process. And by the time it's ready, we'll be ready for implementation next fall. So that's the general plan. We had lots of collaboration to be able to pull this grant proposal together. And again, it really represents the ideal of being able to protect these communities with fuel treatments that are on ridge lines, that are compatible with what CAL FIRE really is desiring to do on a landscape scale. So that's probably good for me right now. So does anybody have any questions?
I've got it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I don't have questions, but I would really like to see some community outreach work done in Annapolis, Kashaya.
Okay.
Because, you know, we've gone out there, people have shown interest.
Right.
But they're not getting a lot of information.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I'll get in touch with you later to, when you're arranging, the community level, workshops, that we try to do something up in that area.
Casadero and Annapolis are on our target. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
a matter of like collaborating with you and trying to figure out where's the best location. We are scheduled to do a series of different workshops, starting with the meeting with the Bohemian Collaborative this weekend. The Green Valley Mill and Farm are hosting a series of workshops. So then I would anticipate looking for something in maybe early summer where we can try to think about what to get on the calendar, and then what would be the best way to outreach to these people and the types of technical language or technical training that they really are interested in.
I got some information from a workshop we did with them out there, and we also, we have a meeting place, North Sonoma Coast Fire has offered a meeting place, and we were able to get 40-something people in it. It has internet access, and it's a good, you know, it's a good place. We could also probably host something in the Sea Ranch.
Yeah.
Rips Redwoods also has a good meeting place.
Yeah.
And I have a list of the whole fire district, of all the residents in that area. But I would go through North Sonoma Coast Fire because they're working with us and they want us to get the information out there.
Perfect.
So we can talk later and I can get you that.
Yeah, and Ben and Marshall are fully supportive of our efforts to do these types of workshops and will participate as their technical expertise. But we'll have fire forward, Occidental Arts and Ecology, people who have a lot of great technical tools to bring to these events. And so what Adriana and Volvich and Open Space have really tried to do is think about this in trying to provide the type of workshop scenario that's appropriate for each group. So we have some that are very much a 100 level type of training where we're basically giving them the bare basics of how fire behaves, what is good forest management, kind of the things that a lot of groups who just don't have don't have that information. Then we've got the 400 level workshops that you guys are all about, where you have that organizational structure, you have some people who have really great experience and practical examples that people can get to. I think that's one of the things we really want to emphasize. Each workshop should be located near a project that's really on the ground and implemented. That is the best way to learn for a lot of these people who just have a concept of what fuel treatments are, how did you call it, fire ecology work, and things like that. We get them on the ground to show them some of these activities. It really makes it kind of sinks in a lot better. Helps calm some of the nerves or concerns that landowners might have, but also gives a chance then for them to have a dialogue with people.
I think that's good. And you know, Kim, the landowner workshop that you attended last month, those landowners, they were new, they just bought that property in June.
Right.
And it was overwhelming. Even though they live in a forested area on Seaview Road, and that's where they came from.
Right.
Having this 40 acres with that forest, and you didn't see it before Fred came and they did all the journey. But you know, they said that morning, this was so overwhelming, we didn't know what, you know, how do we deal with all of this? And when it was all over and we did the burns and everything, they said, you know, we should call these landowner empowerment workshops. Because, you know, they were just like, oh my God, all the work. And I think bringing the communities together like that, all the people who attended those workshops, they were from all of our project areas. Nice. And I think it was good to be able to demonstrate to people who have been doing this for years, but learn something new by what Fred brought to it and by what Devin brought to it about fire ecology and fire science. And, you know, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of projects that have already been done north of Timber Cove. Right. We're working on Tin Barn Road right now. We're doing fire out there with Odeon. Kashaya has a couple of projects that they've worked on with Mal already. And so this is new, and what's happening is we had this great workshop and over 40 people attended, but how do you bring them back? That's what, you know, it's like, well, nobody signed up, nobody did this, you know, One Roads Group did, we met with them. So I think also just bringing that level of community outreach to some of these communities is important, of how to engage engage them, and by bringing the workshops out there and bringing the tools to some of these landowners, I think would be helpful and really beneficial. And I know that North Sonoma Coast Fire will assist in any way they can to make that happen.
That's great. Thanks, Judy. Appreciate that.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
just a quick one? I'm just wondering, you've taken that, vegetation management program so far in 3 years. How many more years do we have with that program? Is this going to be?
That's a great question. Do we have another 45 minutes? No, sorry. That's a great question because in November of last year, I took to the board an extension of my contract, which was to try to tee up for them. We are doing great work and we do have great collaboration between a lot of different entities. And we're really starting to roll pretty well. And so they gave me an extension till October of 2025. And so our game plan is to, and it was purposeful to do that amount of time because also behind the scenes is a great deal of collaboration with Permit Sonoma, CAL FIRE, the CAO, the county, to be able to think about what does this structure look like for the future? We're Permit Sonoma, Ag and Open Space are doing a great job collaborating with each other and sharing our lessons learned and being able to use these different tools. Like Robert Groh has been really instrumental in helping us to adapt to the VTP and using that as a tool that has long time implications of fuel treatments. But also we have an opportunity to learn from those lessons. What have we done well? And how has it been implemented on the ground? And is this the structure that we want to pursue in the future? Supervisor Gore has been really adamant about a fire tax. We weren't completely convinced that's the right way to go right away. Instead, we wanted to spend this time over the next year and a half with a consultant that we are hopefully going to have on contract by the end of this month, who can help us to evaluate what Permit Sonoma is doing, what Ag and Open Space has done, how do we collaborate with the different entities. I think I've shared with you the resiliency team, coordination team, where we're trying to work with these different entities in-house. So Sonoma County as a government is doing good work and getting it down to the ground where the action needs to happen. So that's happening over the next year and a half. And so that's in good timing for me to continue my work, Permit Sonoma to do all their work and get this stuff on the ground. And then we kind of take that 360 view of the work that's happened so far. And are we hitting our targets? Are we able to convince the public that this is the right direction to go? And then we'll determine how that melts with, or how that gels with what the fire chiefs are proposing as a tax that's coming up in March or I think in end of March as a ballot to promote a tax measure. So how does the county work with that? The chiefs have decided to go in that direction. I think that's fantastic. I think we need to figure out what we can do best and how to support this type of activity.
Wow. So full integration and then looking at successes and where to build them. That's really great. Awesome.
And challenges. What are the challenges? It's like the successes, the challenges, and how do we want to use adaptive management?
Right.
So Sierra Club just recently provided some funding to the Sonoma Ecology Center. They're doing a veg management handbook.
Yep.
And are they involved also, or is that a completely separate thing?
That action is actually part of the vegetation management grant program. We awarded a grant to them in 2022 to be able to write that handbook. That is we try to say provide the funding to a grantee, and then we allow them to have their space. Right. But that one is one that I had a lot of investment in, so I've been participating in the handbook process pretty regularly. Okay. And I think all of us have to. Yeah, one of our forest committee members, Mary Lee, has been really involved in that. And so with that being said, we want to use the handbook as a tool for all our workshops so that landowners have a good resource to be able to lean on when they don't have Jason Wells showing up at their door or other resources in person. They can have a online handbook that will help them to figure out what's the best way to manage
It
that.
looks like it's shaping up to more of like an online directory
It is,
of
exactly.
resources.
Yeah. And we'll have a whole presentation by Sonoma Ecology Center on that particular topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, we have 15 minutes before our speaker comes, and we have Judy, Robert, and Amanda, so,
Thank you.
and Steven, sorry.
Okay, I'll make
So,
mine brief, because I already, contributed, but, basically we just finished our forest health grant. We put in an 800-acre forest health grant. We have 500 acres of pines that were planted post Creighton Ridge fire that we're dividing between this forest health grant and the NCRP forest health grant that they're doing in partnership, the pilot grant with CAL FIRE. I'll be attending that meeting tomorrow to talk to them, about that. And one of the things that we did in this forest health grant, we were creating a partnership with Forestry Collective to utilize our biomass. They're going to be, we'll be working with them to get them the small diameter trees. And that we're excited about that because the owner is, he was born in our community and he's back. So we feel pretty good about that. I did want to talk to you, Adriana, a little bit later about the public meetings that you're hosting, because we're putting something together as well right now for 2024. And so to talk to you and Kim about how we could collaborate on those meetings so that we're not duplicating our efforts. I would really like to do that. Timber Code community is just now forming a Firewise community. And so we're kind of helping and assisting with that. Our board member, one of our board members, our board president, works for Madrones, and so he's been going out there a lot and doing home assessments. And thankfully he did a project around my house where we just got rid of everything and rocked it and compacted it. And so right now it's just rock, but over the spring and summer, we want to start. Now my family's going to start, putting plants and, all pots, and just looking at how a home, a protected home can look. It doesn't have to be a moonscape, so we're working on that. I'd love to get some feedback and information about how to make that work and use it as a pilot for our community. And I think that's really about it. We're working with the RCD. When we couldn't find a lead agency for the CAL FIRE grant that we're working on right now, we started working with Goldridge Fire Protection District, who took on the lead agency role for us for the grant that's in progress right now, which is great. But now we'll be working with the RCD, who will cover our full project area for the VTP. And so we'll be meeting with Jason Moore, about that project. And so we're pretty excited about that. And I think that's about it for right now.
So the VTP is for which project?
Well, we have a project, a CAL FIRE funded project right now. We're doing all the exemption areas first while we were looking for a lead agency for the VTP. And so having this partnership with Goldridge, because our Fort Roski and VFD consolidated with Goldridge Fire Protection District. So building this relationship with Goldridge is really, it's a positive thing for us, and they want to be involved and assist with, the fuels management that we're doing in the Fort Ross area. And then the RCD will take on the rest of it throughout the whole entire project area up to Annapolis. And then in our planning for this forest health grant that we put in, we'll also be reaching out to southern Mendocino County because, those areas just run together along the coast there. So we'll be working with, timber companies or fire and other organizations that Matt Green put together that we'll be reaching out to do future planning.
I just was at a Gualala Arts Center program for bears, and they have a nice big open space there if you guys need another place to meet.
It always is open. We've used it before.
Okay.
We did it for our another rainwater catchment project that we did. And so yeah, we have a number of
Yeah.
meeting places. And we're also partnering with Richardson Ranch, and they have a good meeting place too. So in this grant that we just put in, we've partnered with Richardson Ranch, with State of Redwoods League on their Harold Richardson Redwoods Reserve and Kashaya. So those are the communities we're working with north of Timber Cove.
Great.
I'll table my question for maybe next meeting because we're running slim on time, but I would love to know more about, what I love about the VTP is it factors in ecological considerations and invasive plant control. And I've seen where they cleared the power lines out there and it's kind of blowing up with broom. So now I'm concerned, the more clearing, the more broom, the more ladder fuels. And so I think one of the goals of the VTP was to address the potential of invasive species through the thinning work. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of evolves,
Let's talk after this because I know we've reached out to you about coming to speak to our community.
Yes, totally.
And I really would like to get that on board.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. All right.
All right, let's move to Stephen Swain. Hi, Steve.
No, sorry about that. Just the mute button got covered over by notifications on my computer. To take us a little away from fire, I know that's the big subject, but invasive shot hole borer has been found now in Santa Clara County, and it's got a really wide host range. And not that we have lots of avocados up here or anything like that, but it is going to make our forest health situation look a little more complicated because it's established. It's not just found, apparently. So that creates some interesting problems for our, for fuels management and those kinds of things. We'll see what happens if and when it gets up here, but we've been talking about it for years, moving up through California, and it sort of seems inevitable. Maybe we'll get lucky and winter will stop it from really getting, but we're not that different from San Jose, so I'm kind of skeptical that that's going to happen. There's a lot more to talk about, but I have to go because I have a 12 o'clock. So I will pass it on to the next person.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. All right, next is Robert Guerrero.
Hi, good morning, soon to be noon, everyone. I think I know everyone here. So yeah, I work at Permit Sonoma. I think the biggest update on my end is we're still working through the updates to the county's tree ordinances. And so on December 12th, we brought forward the Planning Commission's recommendations for updates to the tree protection ordinance, as well as a proposed oak woodland conversion ordinance, which would establish an oak woodland combining zone where that ordinance would apply. And so the board did not.
Yeah, I know.
The board did not take any action on those two items. They directed staff to do some more outreach, specifically with the forestry and forester community to cover any potential unintended consequences. And so we are tentatively scheduled to go back to the board on March 5th at this point. But in the meantime, on December 12th, the board adopted a temporary moratorium on tree removal in the county with limited exceptions. And so that is currently in place. And then I'm going back to the board on this Tuesday to bring forward a consideration of them to extend that moratorium on certain tree removal with limited exceptions. And so that's sort of where that whole project is at this point.
Any questions?
Thanks for hosting the field trip on Tuesday. That was great. I thought that was really helpful.
Yeah. Thanks for being there.
Oh, sorry. Question about so the board wants to have more time to look into any potential unintended consequences. What's your feeling about that? Do you think that there will be any findings there, or what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always more that could be included or cut or revised. If you look at it a bunch of times, you see a bunch of different ways in which changes can be made. I think the major unintended consequences that the board has sort of through various, stakeholder outreach meetings and this field trip that we had a couple days ago with certain forestry stakeholders, and a couple of the board members, really focused on the ability for landowners to manage their own land without a need for a qualified professional to look at it, right? So needing a forester or an arborist and what that could look like, when there really is, when they are trying to do like a small rural landowner, we're not talking about some like big, 1,000-acre landowner who's doing like big, you know, vegetation management, but rather like, the small 5-6 acre agricultural residential, rural residential landowner who has a couple trees, maybe their family has managed this land for generations and this is how they've always done it. And it's, it's good stewardship. And so how do we facilitate that outside of a permitting regulatory process? So.
I have a question. As far as the tree ordinances go, how do heritage oaks fit into that?
Yeah, so the Planning Commission requested, or the Planning Commission's recommendation includes a provision that for any hardwood tree, well, actually, first off, any redwood trees over 48 inches, and then any other we have a list of protected tree species to which the ordinance applies. And so all the native oaks outside of the chaparral oaks are included in that definition of protected trees. So then any other protected tree over 36 inches, so the removal of those trees would require a use permit if it was not exempt under the ordinance. And so that would be a discretionary permit that would require some level of analysis, CEQA analysis, as well as potentially a hearing on that as well.
Okay, thanks, Robert. Amanda, you're next and last, and then we will move on to our presentation from William.
Hi, everyone. I'm hoping you can all hear me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. My name is Amanda Benton. I am now with Permit Sonoma. I have worked with some of you in another capacity with Napa RCD, but I got a job closer to home, which is really nice. So I am doing community outreach and education for primarily the FEMA grants that Permit Sonoma has. So that's the SoCo Adapts grants with fire prevention department, and then also working with the Natural Resources Department on hazardous fuels reduction and the FEMA brick grant that we got. I've been in this position for about 2 months, so I'm still learning and onboarding and just popping in to listen and learn and say hi to everybody. So, hi.
Welcome. That's wonderful. And Amanda, you were working with Napa RCD before in their forestry department. I think you were, do you have your RPF license or were you working with that?
I could get my RPF license if I could only take the test or pass the test. It's on the list, but my baby is 1.5 and there's just been, a lot going on. So
that's a lot. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I just wanted everyone to know that that's your background. And like, yeah. I think that we're really lucky to have you over at the county bringing your expertise and like your experience working in this space for a while. So I think they really got a great deal when they hired you. So wonderful.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
We'll be reaching out to you for some of the workshops we'll be doing, right? That's one of the things that John and I have been working on. So
wonderful. Yes, I'm really excited because the trees are, wonderful and great, but it's I have decided it's the people that need a little bit more managing these days. So doing community outreach.
That could be like our other tagline.
Right. The trees are all right. Let's manage ourselves.
Yeah. Resilient forests and watershed and people.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Great.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
All right. We'll hope to see you at future meetings too. Please come back if you have time in your schedule. We'd love to have you here.
Absolutely. I was really grateful to get to do this one. So I'm hoping to even be in person sometimes.
Great.
Yay.
Yeah. Yay.
Awesome. All right. Well, next on our agenda, we've got a presentation from William Hart, project manager at the Goldridge RCD, who's going to be telling us about the LandSmart Grazing for Community Resiliency program that is in its fourth year, William? I think fourth.
Yeah, each of our grant periods has been like 18 months. So maybe 3.5 or 4 years now. Something
Gotcha.
like that.
Yeah, so I wanted you to come and share about this program because it is relevant to this group. It's utilizing grazing as a way of managing fuels for community protection, and is doing it in an ecological approach, and it's supporting workforce development across the county and the greater area in uplifting grazers, which is really a tool we need in the toolbox. So I wanted you to give us just kind of an overview of this project, where you're at and where you're going.
Okay. Well, thank you, Adriana. Greetings, all. I do have a presentation that's prepared. So I will just share my screen. And then noise makes you guys smaller, though. I can't see you all.
That's fine.
Uh, there we go. Okay. All right. So yeah, so I have phase 3 and phase 4. That's what Adriana was alluding to. It probably doesn't mean much to you all. Maybe it means something to Kim. But internally, that is how we refer to our program. Let me see here. So I do have a couple of slides. I don't know if I can go back. There we go. Okay. A couple of slides about the role of RCDs in the community. And I'm wondering if that is something that's appropriate, or if the audience, if folks are familiar with the work that we do, if I can just maybe skip over those and get into the details of the
Yeah, I think
program.
you can skip over them or graze over them.
Okay. And then I do have this QR code on the screen as well, which you can, this would link to our website where we have more information about the LandSmart program.
And
But
I think
maybe,
it's also on our agenda for people to visit as well.
okay, great. So I'll just skip over that. I guess the only thing that I would say about the RCD work is that this is a program, our LandSmart program is something that we are actively promoting to other RCDs with the hopes that they will adopt something similar, and that we put it under the name of LandSmart because that is a regional program that we share with Napa County, with Mendocino, Marin, Mendocino, Napa, Sonoma. I think those are all the participants in the LandSmart program. So it's under that umbrella. We recognize that landowners can have parcels in, different counties, in numerous territories of the RCDs. So trying to give it like a broader recognition or a broader name so that it's just not specific to our district. So I'll just skip over all these. But if you are interested in finding out what sort of projects the RCDs are involved in, you can check out the RCD project tracker, where we try to capture all the different type of work that we are doing on this website, rcdprojects.org. And there's an interactive map with all those little pinpoints that highlight our project. So that if you click on one of those pinpoints, it'll bring up this new screen, and then you can find more information about the type of projects that we're involved in. And this is a statewide effort. All right. So the funding that we have had for the previous 2 phases, we are currently in phase 3, has come through the Ag and Open Space district. These are part of the PG&E settlement dollars. The Board of Supervisors have allocated some of those funds towards vegetation management, and that's the program that Kim has been managing. So this is a competitive grant process, right? We've been fortunate to receive we've applied 3 times and we've received funding on 3 of our efforts. So big thanks to Kim, big thanks to Egg and Open Space for their support. And taking something that for us was a pilot project, and now it feels like we have we've developed it. It feels like we've worked out the kinks, and it feels like a pretty smooth running program. And part of the reason why this program was developed, because we recognize we have to change how we're doing things. So this is just one of the tools in the toolbox, right? There's fuel breaks, there's home hardening, there's all the type of work that all our partners are involved in, and we are just bringing grazing to the table to be one of those tools in our toolbox. So part of it is changing our perspective about the vegetation that we are responsible for stewarding, and changing our perspective to see that veg as a resource and not as a burden, right? So we're trying to connect the dots, trying to look at the carbon cycle, the water cycle, the nutrient cycle, the fire cycle, or the fire season, I guess. Just, it's something that we have to manage, this landscape that we all love and know here in Sonoma County. So yeah, so just trying to change our perspective about the landscape that we have to manage. And then empowering our community at the same time, right? So trying to do that through collaboration, doing that through relationships that we build with our community. And then understanding that fire doesn't care about property lines, that it can move across those boundaries. So that's why we have been focused on multi-parcel or multi-landowner projects to get that collaboration, to build up those relationships. And then we've also been funding community cooperative grazing efforts. And that comes in the form of supporting infrastructure to support grazing. So things like portable fencing, water troughs, anything that is needed to support grazing. So what I'm talking about here is, say you have like a 300-acre ranch, and then there are some smaller parcels with single-family homes on them that probably historically had grazing on them, but just because of the ownership and the size of that smaller parcel not being able to support grazing, trying to encourage projects that would allow for, where there is grazing already happening, to put bring down the fence, put a gate into the boundary there to allow for grazing to happen. Part of it is changing our relationship with fire, right? Understanding what a healthy fire ecosystems look like. And then also valuing the work, valuing our grazers, providing them, like Adriana was saying, as a workforce development, And then recognizing that the grazers also need support. They need to learn how to adapt, how to learn how to do this work as a job, and then yeah, just continue to progress. And that we can achieve this. You know, once we're empowered, once we have relationships, maybe we're not coming from a place of fear, but we're coming from a place of feeling empowered. So, okay, let's get into it. So we are interested in supporting neighbors and community groups to undertake these type of projects. We see it as a carbon-friendly method as compared to using, you know, gas-powered tools. The vegetation grows back. This is, I guess maybe I'm going back to that previous slide talking about viewing the vegetation that's growing as a resource and not as a burden, right? There can be co-benefits here. And then this next point is talking about post-fire, previously burned properties. That was where this LandSmart grazing program was born. Sonoma RCD is a partner, our close partner in this program. They initially got some funding through the Water Board for post-fire activities. They included grazing in one of those projects, and then that was the seed for us where this program was born. So we've had two previous phases. Our phase one included 6 projects where we treated over 90 acres. Phase 2 was 11 projects where we treated over 130 acres. And in phase 2, we had a number of multi-property projects. So we provide a reimbursement. This is a reimbursement program where we cover 85% of the grazing fees. And in this round in phase 3, each project is eligible for up to $15,000 per project. So if it's if it's a $10,000 project, we would cover $8,500 of that, and then the remaining $1,500 is the landowner cost share. And then we reimburse them after the fact, right? So they go into contract with the grazer, they pay them up front, and then we reimburse them once the project has been completed. And the reimbursement process can take up to 6 weeks. We try to do it within a month, but sometimes, sometimes it can take up to 6 weeks to reimburse folks. But if somebody is struggling financially and they need support, they can request to have 100% of the cost covered. And we just encourage those folks to contact us directly, and that can be approved by our executive director. And that's come from, that we're in our 3rd phase. We've had experience now, so we try to communicate that very clearly to our participants and make sure that they are aware that that financial hardship should not be something that doesn't allow for them to participate. So who is eligible to participate? Land participants, that's in quotes there. It can be, you can be the landowner, or you can be a land steward. We've set a minimum acreage of 8 acres in this phase 3, and up to 100 acres. I don't think we've ever seen a project that large. And we would, if somebody did have 100 acres where they're looking for support, I think we would work with them to find something more sustainable than just working with a contract grazer. We've made efforts as well to include questions in our application about what type of landscape, what type of vegetation is on their property. But we will consider, grassland, woodland, shrubland, even orchards and vineyards as well. But it's really our ranking, our screening and ranking is focused on the risk of wildfire. We're looking at if you are close to at risk or disadvantaged or densely populated communities, or key evacuation routes, key infrastructure, right? We're interested in supporting those type of projects. Or if you're in the WUI, if you're in that interface between urban and open space land. Okay, so that's who's eligible. And then we asked some questions about, is grazing going to be a good fit for your property? And the feedback that we've received from grazers is that access can be a limiting factor. So we asked questions about, can a livestock trailer actually access your property? That gets factored into our scoring and ranking. And then if not, can the animals be herded
I'm so sorry, Ono. I'm
from
trying to hold it together.
How do I?
Yeah.
From a, can the animals be moved if they can't be brought directly to the site? Water is also a limiting factor. So is water available? Is this something that they can make available to the grazer? Is there any existing fencing? And if there is existing fencing, what condition is it in? These are important questions that we need to figure out. And this helps with the efficiency or the how much the project is going to cost. We ask, if temporary fencing is going to be brought in, does that area need to be cleared in order to establish those fence lines? What's the size of the parcel? We provide assistance for folks to map that out. Is there steep terrain? And then again, what type of vegetation are you looking to be grazed? And then again, this cost and being sensitive to finances. We really want to make that clear that if folks need assistance, it is available. We've also had to address some of the expectations and considerations for a grazing project. So we've had to make it clear that the livestock will browse and graze on the vegetation. They're not going to bring it. They're not like a masticator. They're not going to bring it down completely to the soil surface. And just, that the grazer is not necessarily going to be on site at all times. Some grazers are able to do that. But if it's a smaller operation, right? Maybe it's 1 or 2 people who are responsible. They're probably not going to be on site at all times. We do ask them to be responsive, to be within 15 miles of the site in case something happens. And then, the amount of time that it takes for the project to be completed is going to depend on the schedule of the grazer, the number of livestock that they have, and the size of the project. And then, you know, the type of vegetation that is on site, there's going to be different livestock that are more appropriate for one site as compared to the other. And then so we've included this kind of educational piece in our materials as well. Just, you know, letting people know if you have sheep, this is how they what they like to do. If you have goats, this is what they like to do. And then I have a couple of pictures here. So our verification for that a project has been that meets our requirements is we do photo monitoring. We establish um, photo monitoring sites. We take pictures of them prior to the project and then after the project, and we use that to document that the project has been completed. So this first project here this was near Salmon Creek School out near Occidental. This was about a 10-acre project. It was a kind of a mixed vegetation of some forested areas and then with some pastures. There was some grassland. The grazer brought in, it was a mixed herd of sheep and goats. And they actually expanded the site, the grazing area after the grazer was on site working. They expanded it to increase the acreage. And that was just something that happened between the participant and the grazer. So that was one of the projects that we managed. This next project is a Sonoma RCD project. This was, I want to say this was like heading towards Napa, towards the county line. This was a property that burned in the 2020 glass fire. Primarily grassland with some scattered oaks. And this was sheep and goats were used on this project. And then so now I'm moving into phase 4. So phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 have all been funded by the Ag and Open Space. And we were able to secure funding, phase 4 funding. We were able to secure that through the Coastal Conservancy. We had applied, they have a wildfire resilience grant program. We applied just thinking that we would continue on with our program as we had established it. So we submitted the grant proposal. Coastal Conservancy got back to us and said, hey, we like your proposal, but would you just focus on public lands? So we said, sure, that's a great idea. Let's do that. It took some time for us to revise the proposal. We had to reach out to our partners, regional parks and the land trust and you know, many partners, state parks, to see if this is something that they would be interested in. And it was approved, and we're just getting started on this program, on this part of phase 4. So, but how do you define public lands? So I reached out to our grant manager and asked for a definition, and so this is the definition that they provided us, is that we use our funding for the benefit of the public. And that you know, they're sensitive that we're using public dollars, so there has to be a public good on land that is generally accessible to the public. So we are considering that to be parks, both our regional and state parks in the county, and this is just Sonoma County specific. We've had a number of inquiries from schools both public and private and charter, and that, according to our funder, that meets the requirement. Places like Sonoma State's the Fairfield Osborne Preserve as well, that would qualify. Land trusts that offer, or even potentially ag and open space easements, as long as they are offering public access. So that's how we are defining public lands. So it'll be a similar program. We'll offer all the same type of assistance to our partners. We can assist in the planning of the project. We can connect the public land managers with our list of grazers. I think we have like 22 grazers on our list. We deal with CEQA, and we've been able to file these through a NOE, through a notice of exemption. And then we will be managing the contracts and agreements with the grazers. And then in our funding, we have lots of robust education that's going along with it. So education for the public, education for grazers, to help them in developing business plans and making connections just between grazers themselves, sharing resources, sharing information. So that'll be a big component of this phase 4. And then, just making sure that our public lands stewards feel like they have assistance, because when you're grazing in the public, right, you're going to be under scrutiny from the public, right? So we want to make sure that if our public lands partners if this is something new, if they're endeavoring on new terrain here, we want to make sure that they feel supported. Oh, here's that same thing is repeated. All right, so this is how we're rolling it out. Our first step is going to be just connecting with our partners. So we're doing that. We're having a public webinar on January 30th. This is going to be like at lunchtime from 11:30 to 1 p.m. We've done personal outreach to our many partners through emails. And we have a survey as well to go along with that to help us, define our program and develop it. So we're seeking their input. And then once we've made all those considerations, we will make the application open. We'll score and rank each of those applications. We will select projects based on our screening and ranking criteria. And then we'll connect approved projects, connect them with a grazer. And included in that will be site visits and making a plan, right? So that everybody is on board with what is happening. The Coastal Conservancy had some concerns about a reimbursement program. So they've asked us to contract directly with the grazer. Something about the reimbursement raised some red flags for their legal team. So we'll be contracting directly with the grazer. And then we will be, same type of deal. We'll be covering 85% of those costs. We increase the cost, or the cap, up to $40,000 per project. And once again, if needed, if there's financial hardship, people can apply to have those cost share requirements waived. And we're going to have what we really want to have is perhaps like we could have like a cycle where grazing happens 2 years. If it's a $40,000 budget, we're thinking that we can get perhaps 2 or 3 grazing events during the time frame that we have. So this is I want to say this is like a 4-year, 4.5 year long grant. So we're really focusing on developing partnerships, getting buy-in from all our partners, have an application, but then make it a longer window for actually implementing the project so that we can, because once you graze vegetation, it grows back, right? So we're trying to create something that's has a longer solution, longer impact. So again, here's that the webinar is happening Tuesday, January 30th, 11:30 to 1 p.m. I can give you these links to the survey, or if you don't want to do the survey, we just have a Google Doc where people can add their notes, and then people can register for the webinar, and I can provide all of those links if folks are interested. And I guess that's what I got.
All right, thank you, William.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Lynn.
I wanted to I have a couple questions, but I saw that Sloan came in and I thought she could just introduce herself really briefly to the group. She's our new NRCS contact in their forestry department. And I just wanted y'all to have a chance to meet her. I don't know if she's there or stepped away, but.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi. Thanks, Adriana. Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Sloan. I'm the new forester out of the NRCS Petaluma office. So yeah, thanks for the invite to this, Adriana. I'm looking forward to working and coming to this meeting and hearing from you all.
Hey, fantastic. Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Sloan.
Thanks. All right. Well, I have a couple questions for William, but does anyone else want to go before me? Okay. So William, you said that this project is a 4-year project. Or the grant will last for 4 years from the Coastal Conservancy. Do you think that the participants who do grazing in the first year, can they participate in subsequent years to do maintenance? Or would you like to kind of mix it up and get new people in?
I'm hoping that we will just have one application period and that we'll get our best projects there, and then but allow for that time frame to have multiple grazing events occur. So maybe I think yes to like the spirit of your question, but how that gets implemented, I'm hoping that we have it just one application and then give a longer period for actual implementation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I think that's exciting. You could really see, I mean, I'm thinking about the impact of grazing the same place multiple years in a row. Like you may get some real kind of lasting changes to the vegetation structure. I think, think about the kind of pruning that goats can do in the understory. I mean, grass grows back every year, but some of those, some changes could be more longer lasting potentially.
Yeah, or even, just the exposure and getting the public used to seeing like goats at Regal Park, for example, or and then maybe like, if there's a positive response from the community, maybe it's something that regional parks then can in 3 years from now, 5 years from now, like work into their budget. Or maybe we go after additional funding to continue to support this. I mean, the state, I was looking at the folks from the Central Coast. Mark Horney from San Luis Obispo, right? There's a Central Rangeland group that hosts a number of webinars. one of their webinars talked about the very ambitious goals that the state has set for itself. Something like they've set aside like $20 million through the VTP. They've set aside like $20 million earmarked for grazing projects. But that would require something like 50 to 100 grazers who are running 3 to 5,000 animals. And we're like nowhere near that. So like we've set very ambitious goals. The only grazer I can think of in Sonoma County is chasing goats. He probably has about 3,000 animals. So we would need in Sonoma County to meet the state's goals. We'd need like a 10 more chasing goats type outfits. So we're not there. But hopefully step by step we're getting closer.
That's 20 million from, is that driven by CAL FIRE or who?
Through CAL FIRE. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
So is that part of the wildfire task force as some of the mandate to try to treat certain areas?
That's right.
William, can you speak a little bit about the growth that you've seen among local grazers because of this program?
You know, there are certainly ranchers like grazers interested in this type of work just because it is a way to diversify their income and diversify, the type of work that they're doing. And I guess I would like it makes me think of the grazing school. That's the UC Cooperative Extension, Stephanie Larson, in partnership with Wild Oat Hollow, has hosted I think 2 rounds of the grazing school. And that is to provide education to grazers. They had a workshop in Marin this last summer, and I attended that. There was probably like 20 grazers that participated. Day one was for grazers, and then day two was for the public. And we're going to be supporting that through our funding. We're going to be supporting the grazing school. I think it's on people's radar. There's young grazers who are interested in this, but it's a big lift to just in terms of developing a business, getting the infrastructure to support it, and then even just access to land is a hard thing in our county, right? To have a home ranch where they can operate from. But I think like more and more vineyards are incorporating grazing into their management, so like winter grazing. So I think there's opportunity there. And I guess it's maybe it's important for me to let you know that this is not production agriculture. That this is a service that the animals are providing. Like they're not being pushed so hard that when they are brought onto a site like that the livestock are only can not all of their feed is being derived from the project, right? There's the grazers provide supplemental feed. They are very tuned in to the health of the livestock. So this is it's the service that the livestock bring to the landscape of converting vegetation through digestion right into poop and pee that builds soil. Their hoof action on the ground itself is an important part of soil health. Um, so I guess it's, part of that is the education that we're involved in too, right?
Um, William, do you think there's any opportunity to work with that model as far as moving grazers into more of an economic advantage where they are becoming a agricultural producer as well as providing the service?
I mean, yeah, I would think so. There are a number of like outfits that are successful. I look at what's happening down in Marin County, with their fire safe council and the work that they've been doing. Um, I feel like Marin is ahead of us in terms of this type of work. Bringing in like large scale um herds, and where they move them, you know, like move them from site to site. I think it's awesome. Um, yeah, I would like to think so, Kim, that this is something, yes, that could be um, attractive to a grazer, that to pursue this as a business. But there's a lot of we need to support them to make that happen.
I'm just thinking about like chasing goats. What's his name? Chasing.
Chase, yeah.
Yeah.
How you pronounce his last name, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. So Chase has a great example of 3,000 animals that he is able to provide services on a regular basis. One of the site visits that you and I did had we were just talking with the grazer, and he was struggling about that winter and that seasonality
Right.
when he's not in demand. What does he do with his herd? And he was really struggling with that part of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I see us um, supporting grazers. I see us supporting neighborhoods or communities that are interested in cooperative grazing. So where the community owns the herd collectively and manages it, and then moves the livestock around from parcel to parcel. Sarah Kaiser from Wild Oat Hollow has been a fantastic partner. That's really her vision. That's what she's been supporting. I can't speak highly enough of Sarah. Um, so I think that's part of it. And then, you're looking at that's the co-benefits from that are you're building community. You're providing food and fiber to that community as well. So there's and empowering them. And then though those people are learning about the landscape, they're learning about the vegetation, they're connected to that place. Like, I don't know, there's something about just watching livestock on a site. Like there's something that I feel like that's like this deep experience that all of us share, like there's something nice about watching sheep and goats, like, or for me, like maybe that's my own personal experience.
That's well said.
No benefits. Well, just I guess the small question is, so in the past phases of LandSmart, you worked a lot with private properties. And the next phase is public lands, but is there any opportunity for private properties that are next to public lands
Yeah,
anymore?
yeah, exactly. So it'll be public lands and then private lands that are adjacent to public lands. But I think we're going to focus on the public lands first, and then if something, and maybe that's part of my motivation for having this longer window for implementation. Maybe like Regal Park, maybe some Regal brings in goats and sheep they're doing their thing, and then maybe some of the neighbors, private landowners adjacent to Rago say, hey, can we get in on that? And that'd be something, yes, absolutely, we'd want to support. Or maybe there's like an open space preserve where there's already grazing. Maybe there's already a grazer there. But then there's private parcels next to that that could be grazed as well. Like, I just see like there's ecological benefits potentially from that. Maybe those parcels are like higher up, and then you can like it benefits the grazer to have a grazing spot, maybe like in the spring or something where the bottom lands are more wet, so you can bring them up to the uplands, have less impact on that, you know, like more saturated site. And then, yeah, I don't know, I feel like our landscape evolved with grazing, and anything we can do to support that.
Yeah, well, I can see how much, you know, support that this program is giving to the community and making that possible by handling all the logistical, you know, administrative stuff. So it's nice that we have this to kind of kickstart this, and then maybe it'll sort of perpetuate on its own after that.
Right,
Well,
right.
William, when you guys are grazing this summer, will you please send us some photos and videos of animals grazing so that we can have a collective, like sigh of relief while we watch them?
Absolutely.
I think it would be, I mean, one of the things our forest working group does is workshops on the ground where, you know, we've hosted 2-hour sessions on a Saturday where people get a chance to see things happen on the ground. I think we can, now that we're starting to feel more comfortable in person meetings, I think we should schedule a workshop where we get a chance to see some of the grazing in action, and we really lean on you to dictate what season that would be to kind of get the biggest bang for buck, and we can combine it with other field treatments as an opportunity to learn.
Right. Absolutely.
Sweet. Looking forward to it. Great.
Thanks very much, William. Really appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Always. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Adriana.
Thanks.
All right. Have a good day.
Okay.
Well, the last thing on the agenda, we skipped over it earlier, but that's our calendar of events. And basically, I mean, it's on the agenda, so you guys can look at it at your convenience. But I thought maybe Kim and I could, you know, just run through it really fast. We're pulling up the agenda. Might have gotten.
I thought it was, yeah, I think you're right. I got me that. Sorry, guys.
But that's okay. I can just sort of say,
but I gotta share it.
All right. Hold on 1 second. Maybe.
So complicated.
Actually, try again and then just share screen.
Yeah,
that one, yeah.
Get the image to refresh.
There we go. All right. So Pepperwood has a couple of burn pile workshops coming up, one on the January 21st and one on March 9th. And those are super helpful how-to workshops, and you get to go to Pepperwood Preserve. So it's a nice time, nice opportunity to get out there. We've got 3 different resilient forests workshops happening at Green Valley Farm and Mill. One on February 11th and another one on March 10th. And then April 14th.
April 21st.
Oh, but maybe that date might get pushed back.
Yeah.
But we'll keep in touch with you guys about it. And those are great kind of 101, 201 level workshops on forest management. We'll have foresters speaking. We'll get to see the Shady Fieldbreak Project at Green Valley Farm and Mill and some of the work that they've done. It's always a really nice time. I think those are gonna be on Sundays in the spring. And then what else is going on? Oh, I just recently learned about this thing called Tree School. So May 4th, California Tree School is going to be hosted by UCCE in Hopland. It's a day-long event where they go through all kinds of really practical skills for landowners who want to learn more about the trees that are on their properties. So that's fun. Yeah, we're gonna be adding those events onto the website, and more events should be coming up soon too. We're gonna be putting those out there. As a follow-up to our June conference, I really want to produce a newsletter with more information about these events and send that out to all of the attendees so that they stay in the loop and get motivated to do more, learn more in the new year. So that'll be going out sometime soon. I think that's all of the updates that, all the events that are on the calendar at this point. So I think we can close our meeting a little early. Thanks to everyone who came. Please come again next month, come in person. We usually have a lot more people here, but I think it's just a sleepy start of the year.
Yeah.
But, more good stuff to come next month.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Adriana.
Thanks, everyone.